Hey, folks, we're back once again on Lincoln Square Live with you today. I am delighted to be joined by my friend, Harry Litman, brilliant legal analyst, a guy you've seen on MSNBC, a guy you've read across the board, a man who understands the inner workings of all the legal processes. And the one I wanted to talk to him about today is happening right down the street from me in Tallahassee, Florida, where Todd Blanche is offering a bribe to Ghislaine Maxwell to not testify against Donald Trump or say what she knows. That's at least my non-legal assessment of it. But Harry, thanks for coming on. I just wanted to start with that. I mean, this seems to me to be a story where they are moving very quickly to tie up loose ends, and Ghislaine Maxwell, in the midst of this burgeoning Epstein scandal, seems to be a very, very big untied loose end.
Totally, but an untied loose end in a political scandal. So let me just start from a law enforcement perspective. Right. I do know the things you said, or I knew how it used to work. This ain't how it used to work. First of all, the deputy attorney general himself, but more on this sort of roving political mission. That's all you can really call it now for Trump to try to presumably push back on. We've had now over the last few days, Rick, what, 3-4 attestations that they're besties and he's the wingman. That's not a crime, and there doesn't seem to be a file open. So what the hell is the deputy attorney general who runs the department and things come to them paying a visit to Ghislaine Maxwell? It just they're not executing the law, and it just doesn't fit in the job description. That said, there's one of two things going on. Maybe in a way we don't know. There's some like file open. By the way, if that had been the case, 100% forbidden for Bondi to have told Trump he's in the file. Of course, that's under the rules they've now laid waste to. But it does seem to me that, we're talking about how big and ugly can it go, and not in a criminal way. So really, Todd Blanche, Trump's old defense attorney, I think is today down in your neighborhood being his current defense attorney. That is, what's he even trying? I see it, how it helps Trump's political prospects. Ghislaine says, oh, no, they weren't such friends. By the way, can I have a pardon now?
Sure.
That would stink. It might not persuade anyone. But the one thing it isn't, Rick, call me a fuddy-duddy, but it's just not what the DOJ does. They're just there. You would send in the old Washington days, a Lloyd Cutler, a Vernon Jordan. That guy's doing a personal errand.
Yeah, that ain't how it works.
Not the presidency. What law, you can ask, is he trying to execute as the presidential power has? So I don't see one. So this is all funky and anomalous.
Yeah, I mean, in the old days, in the before times,
right.
And maybe I'm right on this, maybe I'm wrong, but I'd love to hear you. Wouldn't the Office of Legal Counsel inside the DOJ have said, oh, no, Chief, you're not going down there? I mean, wouldn't there have been some ethics and legal restrictions and legal advice inside of DOJ to say, this is out of your lane, you can't do this?
So 2 points. You wouldn't have needed the Office of Legal Counsel to do an opinion. First, no deputy would ask to do it. The deputy travels to give keynote addresses. But second, there is someone who does it. The ethics advisor. Do you remember a couple
just
weeks
got fired
ago, summarily? Oh, you have to go now. Why? Article 2 powers, excuse me, but the very person whose job it is to exactly tell the deputy, that's not ethical, that's not legal, that person has been sacked. So 100%. They're now committed in this roving political mission. It's tied, well, it's not law that they are doing.
So, I mean, I hate even asking this question because I feel naive and dumb asking this question, but isn't it illegal for them to offer her a quid pro quo in some way?
The answer is yes, and it's illegal for Trump to do it as well. And all the Supreme Court has said it's a lot, and it totally changes the landscape, that he can't be tried for it. He has immunity. But if you flat out make a bribe, you do this and I'll do that. It is as I construe it, and there's a lot of ways where you can exercise the pardon power, broad as it is, in a way that's criminal. What you just said is the easiest. But of course, you know, they can be counting, as he's done several times, on the good graces of the Supreme Court to say, we don't care. It does seem to matter, by the way, in some of these things that it be Trump who does the action and not her. But the short point, all of this stuff to me, Rick, has this whole political base, and then depending where they're going with it, legal implications. But if he comes to her and says, as you would think he would, okay, Elaine, but I'll do it at the end of the administration, because before then, MAGA base will
keep quiet for 40 months and you're fine.
Here's your deal. The short answer is illegal, and but in a way that would not be enforceable. He could make it happen, but all of it. Would word leak out? Would MAGA stand for it? You know, this whole scandal is different, not because he's behaved worse or differently, but because you have his home base all up in arms because of the way it funnels into some very, for them, you know, essential tenets of what the world is.
I mean, I was doing some show prep on this last night, and I was reading some stuff about the case. This was not a case with a lot of deep questions. They had her on a lot of the charges in which she has now been in prison. This was dead to rights. She was involved and shaped a child trafficking ring and a sex trafficking ring on Jeffrey Epstein's behalf. She was a conscious actor in this entire criminal enterprise. This case was not like, oh, well, wow, there's a lot of conflicting evidence here. It was pretty open and shut, right? Talk to us about...
and that gives rise to a few important points. First of all, that's right. If you look at the indictment, and this matters because of the total phony baloney gambit they're playing to say, oh, let's uncover the grand jury materials from that case. They had nothing to do with any customers or pals or homies or wingmen.
Fellow travelers.
They said that Epstein and Ghislaine and others on his team, basically, and Ghislaine has a huge role, right? She finds the underage girls, she grooms them.
She referred to this as, I have to go and get more nubiles.
Yes. It was not a case that she had much chance of winning. But so you're exactly right. And they had her basically dead to rights. But you know what they didn't have? It was a case that had nothing to do with any of Epstein's pals or fellow travelers, whatever you want to call them, even the sex in the indictment. It's all with Epstein. So when the reason that it's under seal by Maureen Comey, who's since been fired, is in case they want to try Maxwell again. These were charges they developed in 2019. We're talking about the review that occurred in 2006 of some 300 gigabytes that in the FBI system. That's like 1.5 million pages.
Oh yeah.
So it's not only that it's a small slice of everything, it's a completely, the Venn diagram doesn't touch.
It's a lot of cakes. It's not just a slice.
So, I mean, they're hoping maybe they'll be, because they don't have any business. It's all politics, right? Why would they be able to open up the grand jury record? But the bigger point is it's just not what MAGA and now America are looking to find out.
So they, as you mentioned just now, they did fire Maureen Comey, who was a prosecutor on both the Diddy case and the Maxwell case and the Epstein case. I mean, Occam's razor, as I like to always say, is sharp and true. It strikes me as unusual they would fire that particular prosecutor just as they're doing the rollout of saying the Epstein materials are done, it's over, it's dead. Don't talk about it anymore. It's all in the rearview mirror. Shut up and color. What's your take on both the timing of that firing and the intentionality behind it? Because again, it one more time, it's like tweaks that like conspiracy nugget in my brain, where it's like, this is not a coincidence, and it's not just because he has animus towards Jim Comey, right?
Right.
I mean, it could be a factor.
Nice little addition to actually, but
bonus hatred.
I'm going with more than unlikely, Rick. It's inconceivable. They're obviously, this was part of a setup, and they have been looking around pretty desperately. Whom can we either blame or divert attention from? And anybody's good, any port in the storm. Obama he's the one who really did it, or all the Democrats, and they've trotted out different people. Comey, who, by the way, her letter when she walked out and told the people to keep the faith was beautiful. But yes, this was just many different ways that I think anyone with any sort of sophistication wouldn't buy for half a second.
Right.
So in some ways, they're gambling any way they can on just pulling it over the eyes of MAGA and moving on. You know, you also saw him do, you know, upbraid them and say enough of this and try, you know, he's really trying every strategy. But firing her, and by the way, firing any career prosecutor, that just basically does not happen unless their hands in the till. And so all of it is unusual. All of it's for political reasons. What's the political reason for Comey? Pretty damn easy to discern.
Yeah, it is not a deep mystery that will never be penetrated.
These guys are not subtle in their political conduct.
You know, to use the old Watergate quote from Mark Twain, these were not smart guys, and things got out of hand.
Yeah, mistakes were made. Yeah.
In that big distraction-palooza we're having right now, the White House is throwing everything they can at the wall every single day. It's all like, you know, everything. So yesterday they tried again by wheeling Tulsi Gabbard out to sort of try to kick off a revisionist history of Russia's involvement in the 2016 election and to create a massive conspiracy out of whole cloth that included Brennan, Obama, Comey, the Clintons, my dog catcher down the street. I mean, everybody who could conceivably be related to the story. And they're talking about charging them with treason, talking about charging them with felony crimes in this thing. Walk us through the absurdities of this particular case. I mean, when DOJ gets the bit in its teeth on orders from the White House, which they follow these days and not independently behave, I wonder how much intimidation they're trying to accomplish, or if this is just going to be a 2-day story and it's going to blow up and then disappear like a fart in a hurricane.
How much time you got? I mean, the absurdity of the treason piece. Now, of course, this is a corrupt DOJ, and they've already brought charges that have no basis against political figures. In fact, in New Jersey, among other places, so that we know they're capable of it. So that it becomes kind of a political question. You can initiate. I mean, it's dishonest to do it. You're not allowed to do it unless you really have the goods. You're probably going to get a conviction. But to my mind, if it's a 2-day story, it's the Obama part's a 2-day story. They're looking for some story to quell the store. But okay, let's just indulge it for a moment. Treason is aid and comfort to an enemy you're at war with under the Constitution.
Has the death penalty involved?
What, you know, it doesn't remotely begin to hunt. But I also think, you know, Obama, I don't know, he kind of came in like the adult in the room with a give me a friggin' break. And I think that would basically be the attitude of the country. So it's a non-starter, I think, Rick, not because a corrupt DOJ couldn't try to do it. They're doing it against anyone they see, including trying to harm in different ways as part of the old guard. But it ain't going anywhere. The big thing here, though, is all the plays from the playbook they're pulling out have had some success in the past when all they had to worry about was, you know, keeping the base in line. Whereas, you know, the libs were up in arms and you can't do this, and they can't do it. But this is a whole different thing because it is their home team. So it comes down to the question, anybody going to buy that? And we do know, we've seen some pretty prominent figures in MAGA world, you know, Bannon, Laura Ingraham, even in Congress, you know, who are skittish to say the least over MAGA's discontent and what it's clamoring for. All these things, though, I mean, again, and I come back to my sort of first pointy-headed submission, which is they are not doing law. They're doing free roving politics that they have no business to do. But that raises the political question, will this douse the temperature or make MAGA just forget it? And the evidence of the last few days, and I would defer to you, but the evidence of the last few days is NFW. They found something they care about more than Trump. And until you get to the bottom of the pile, they're not going to be happy. And one final point is, this is what's made the defamation lawsuit so stupid on his part, because he defined the pile thereof. Is that letter real? We know. Anyone with any sophistication in Washington knows the letter is real, knows DOJ looked at it. So rather than saying something like, I was stupid, I knew him then, we cut, that's a juvenile note.
Right.
Put it all in the lawsuit anyway on the line, and he's going to be humiliated. Now, with what political effect? Because, there's no crime, etc. What will MAGA, what is their hope now? MAGA kind of forgets about it. Seems like an idle hope to me. I'm not a MAGA expert.
We were monitoring
they're hot and bothered.
A couple different tracking metrics that are sort of back in the envelope, but they kind of work. This morning we ran the 24-hour Google Trends analytics on Gabbard and Epstein. Gabbard way down here in the noise, Epstein still way up here.
Right.
Twitter analytics, same story. It is they have the bit in their teeth about this, and they are not letting it go easily. And I think you're right. In the past, all these greatest hits were strung out over the first Trump administration, the campaigns, et cetera, at different times. And they worked a lot of the time. But now he's dumped out almost every single tool in the greatest hits toolbox in the last 2 weeks, and nothing is working. I mean, I think you're right. If he arrested Obama, the world would be on fire. He would not like the outcome. The world would lose its damn mind. What do you think the chances are of him going for somebody lower down the food chain, a Brennan, a Clapper, somebody like that?
Yeah. So look, what we have learned is over the last few days, it seems to me, Rick, is any port in a storm. Initiating this kind of thing requires, there comes a point where you have to put up or shut up in front of a court. That didn't stop him from tailing Comey. That was ridiculous. Hasn't stopped him. So, I think the answer is it'll be based on a political calculation. And by the way, you would know this as well. Who's advising him politically? Back in Trump 1.0, maybe there were adults who, boss, can I just tell you? But it does seem, this is judicial selection and elsewhere, that he's decided he's going to do whatever the hell he wants.
Oh, yeah.
So that makes this prediction game nigh unto impossible. But what matters, I think, at the political side of things is what, if anything, will placate MAGA, and I just haven't seen it yet. And then this goes on and on and on.
He's lost so many of his major supporters in that MAGA influencer space.
Yeah.
Candace Owens, Theo Vaughn, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson,
Stuart
Rhodes. Stuart Rhodes.
Yeah. Stuart Rhodes.
January 6th pirate guy.
Yeah.
None of these people, and the Proud Boys guy, Terria, all these people that are saying this, like Donald, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. I just don't think that, even though, in a way it's sad, because the outrage of what DOJ is doing, the unethical nature of what they're doing, I cannot believe there are would not be people disbarred from their have their law licenses taken away in a just and correct.
And they're losing all respect, but they've all they've lost it already. But I mean, in that sense, it's precarious for them what they're doing, but they don't care. But it does seem to me the dynamic now. This is the Washington scandal dynamic of the conventional wisdom: get everything out and get it out early. Because this is happening, we now have auxiliary stories. Some the Wall Street Journal already has, but he is in quicksand. I don't know if you noticed, just this morning, it turns out that there's another copy of this notebook.
And the family executor has another copy of the book.
Right. And
another copy of the signed letter.
And you have people coming out, victims saying, this is what he did to me 30 years ago. He's made it salient again by taking them on this notion of everything's fake. And, everything isn't fake. But he's been able to force that down the throats of the left before, and the right's been perfectly fine to have them do that. They're not perfectly fine anymore, right?
Right. Melissa just notes that they have just confirmed Emil Bove. which is another guy who is just a hitman, just a personal attorney for Trump now as a U.S. I mean, just a unbelievable. By the way, that guy's
an outlaw,
Yeah.
someone who just pissed all over the Department of Justice.
By the way, he is only 44 years old.
Yeah.
He
goes immediately. This is what I was talking about before. He didn't. No more Federalist Society. Who does Trump want? He goes immediately to the top of the Supreme Court.
His personal retainers, his personal, loyalists, and Bove is only 44 years old, and I swear to God, that guy, that's what, as my grandmother would say, sin makes you old. That guy looks like he's 70.
Yeah.
I mean, he also looks like somebody who, like many a hobo, that's the last thing they see is the trunk of the car closes on them.
He did those, I have a little bit of this myself, but those circles under the eyes and stuff. Yeah, I don't know how a robe is going to set those off. But, we joke a little, but really what he's done is so flagrantly disqualified. He said, ignore what courts do. Now he's on the judiciary. Well, how do you think his colleagues on the Third Circuit are going to feel about being on panels?
I mean,
with him,
this to me, I mean, and I saw one of the lead guys in the ACLU this weekend when I was up at a trip to Fire Island, and we were talking about that, about like, you've got now people who institutionally just say, we're going to defy the courts.
Yeah.
Inside the DOJ. And now there's going to be a guy on the bench who's going to say, I'm going to defy any other legal precedent. I'm going to always side with Trump. I'm going to always do what he wants. I'm going to always side with him. I feel like the judiciary has lost so much of its gloss as that independent defender of rights and the Constitution and of liberties, and is becoming viewed as a partisan outlet.
Yeah, and let me just add to it, Rick. Going out of the box in the first few months, the district courts of this country did a lot, and they heard things, saw things, made findings. But I had said before, including to you, don't just think about who appointed which. Think about it in this way: district court versus courts of appeals versus the Supreme Court. And so what's really happened is they've been very, very much sort of pithed in their ability to do stuff. They're still hanging in there, but the Supreme Court has arrogated now this to itself, so they can only do sort of little bite-sized things.
The marginal things.
Yeah. I do want to say something interesting happening yesterday in the Ninth Circuit. Reinstated the birthplace citizenship nationwide injunction, saying in Supreme Court terms, it's the only way we can give complete relief to states, because otherwise there'd be no way of sort of doing it. So that's the fight.
Got it. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. That's the fight that's brewing. But basically, the confidence and sanguinity we had for the court system as a whole has really taken a serious hit, because the Supreme Court has purposefully reconfigured the power structure there, and they are so much more likely to side with Trump. So yeah, it's that are the final bulwark there. Except the people now has some
very battered. So Joy LeVay Taylor asks, Harry, can we get rid of Bove? Ever get rid of Bove?
No.
I mean, if we catch him with his hand in the till, but I think that's pretty. I mean, it's a lifetime appointment.
Yeah. Look, that's how you get rid of him, through impeachment. It's happened 7 times. It's pretty well established. You got to have your hand in the till. It's not for even crazy opinions that you disagree with. And the short answer is, Constitution says lifetime. He doesn't care what the Constitution says generally, but he gets the benefit of it. He's with us for life.
Yep. We are never getting rid of that one, which is, once again, for all the folks that voted for Donald Trump thinking it was funny.
And if you want a real good joke, start getting used to putting in your cocktail conversation Justice Emil Bove.
Oh yes, that piece from the Atlantic about there's a plan, folks, to elevate Emil Bove to the Supreme Court. This is the fast track to get him in position for that.
100%.
But don't worry, Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski are deeply concerned. They're very, very concerned. They're worried. Their pearls are clutched so very tightly.
Yeah.
At the end.
6 times burned, 7 times shy, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Well, Harry, thank you for coming on today, my friend.
Always a pleasure. Rick, I'm so glad to be with you today because here's my bottom line.
Yeah.
There's legal shit going on. It's all anomalous and funky, but really this is like political. How far will it spread? And when, if ever, will MAGA be placated? And I look, as so many people do, to the Rick Wilson for answers there. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, my friend. All right. Well, folks, listen, you can join us tonight on the breakdown at 7 p.m. East Coast time. You can also catch me on 4,782 different podcasts every week. I am on the Enemies List. I am on the Lincoln Project podcast. I'm on the Elephant in the Room podcast. And on Mondays with my friend Molly Jong Fest, I am on Fast Politics. Absolutely great to have everybody here today. Thank you again, Harry, my friend. And we'll see you again soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.